I'm at a super interesting location right here. This used to be a Japanese internment camp. Back during World War II, the American government, against civil liberties, took Japanese Americans and took them from their homes and put them in camps like this. This was a fairly small camp. It was only about 5 acres. It only had a few hundred people in it. And they were able to work and make money at the orchards that used to be around here. So after it was a Japanese internment camp, because we started capturing prisoners of war during World War II, after that, it was a prisoner of war camp. And at first it was of Italians in the African theater. And so they first brought Italians here and they were able to work in the fields. There's tons of these prisoners of war camp all over the country. You might be able to find them in your area. As they invaded Fortress Europe, more and more Germans started being captured, and they brought them all the way back here. You might think that's kind of weird that they would bring them all across the entire Atlantic Ocean just to put them in an internment camp in the West. But this was a perfect way to do it, because who's going to try and escape? Very few people did. Occasionally someone did. But it made no sense. Why would you try and escape from a camp that was actually pretty nice, all things considered? They just worked here until the end of the war. In 1946, they returned home. However, many of them actually returned to this area afterwards because the people treated them so nicely. Similarly, with the Japanese internment during World War II, a lot of the Japanese people end up staying in this local area because the people weren't nearly as prejudiced as in some other parts of the United States that they had come from, and they had lost a lot of things. Now, this is one of the saddest parts of American history, is the internment of the Japanese. They lost all their civil liberties. This was completely unconstitutional, and it was one of those things that you need to always remember and never forget, that the federal government and governments in general will take away your civil liberties. There's very little recourse. There was some money apportioned back in the 80s, but it wasn't very much. And what did they get for it? They lost almost everything. Many of them died in these terrible little places that they had to live in. Of course, now it is a school. It's a different type of prison than a prisoner of war camp or an internment camp. However, I think it's very important to remember what we lose when a war occurs, as well as how to prevent that. And if we forget that civil liberties can be taken away, that's when things repeat themselves. It's a very small prisoner of war camp. It was then used before and after the war as a place for migrant workers to live in as they worked, because all of this used to be farms and orchards. After 1970, they tore it all down and then they built a school there, which is definitely kind of funny to think about. There's also a prisoner of war camp a few hours away from here, as well as a large Japanese internment camp that I plan on visiting in future episodes. There are so many of these camps all over the United States, and you should really just check it out in your local area. I found this one because of Pokemon Go. I am here at a park right now just to kind of go over some different things that I think is really interesting. We often think that we need to go to Gettysburg or Paris or Rome, but honestly, we don't need to go to those amazing locations to get history. Obviously, we'd love to be able to go to those places, but that might not necessarily be achievable for us. However, we can go to places like this, which is a super awesome World War II memorial showing an AA gun. Right here we can see this AA gun, or anti-aircraft gun, which is just here at a local park in my town. It's a super interesting monument, just how massive this gun is. I'm gonna have to do some research and actually find out what gun this is. So look at this right here. I mean, this is an amazing monument. You can really see just how cool this AA gun is. Now, some of the components are obviously removed to prevent you from being able to, I don't know, use it. So this is just a really fun war memorial, really interesting, nice big obelisk. You can see here. I think that must be a new addition to the flags. We have a Space Force. I don't know if I've ever seen a Space Force flag in real life, so that's pretty cool. Now, one of the fun things that I like to do is I like to play Pokemon Go. Now, that might be a little dorky, that might be a little ridiculous, maybe, I don't know, but I love it. And something I love about Pokemon Go is that these memorials are all over the place on it. And so it's super easy to find. You can go to the map, you can see the entire world, and you can just go through and you can find super interesting things. Be able to explore some historic sites in your area, because each place has hundreds of years worth of history. It's before the Europeans got here, maybe it's after. However, either way, there's tons of history. And so I think that's what's so cool about your local area. You can get involved in a historic society if you want, but you don't need to. Now, this was just a short video that I just wanted to practice doing a little bit of on-site history and prepare myself, because there are so many great channels out there vlogging through history, History Underground, Walking with History, that do amazing videos where they go and they see historic sites, and I would love to do that. I don't want that to be my entire channel because I don't have enough money for that, and that's a lot of work. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to be doing tons of these, and they're going to be super good ones. I'm going to be going to some really amazing historic sites pretty soon. I have a bunch of trips planned out. So please subscribe and follow for more. Comment down below any place that you might want me to go to.